Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Bit-Obscene radio program. Uh, since Sean has to go donate blood to his gator farm in Florida in 15 minutes, we are going to talk about 2025 availability groups so that Sean can showcase his expertise in that area and then go and do whatever he needs to do with his reptiles. So, Sean, I guess we're picking on you first, two in a row
Mm.
here. Since Joe has nothing to contribute, he's just going to sit there and blink. We are going to, this is going to be the Sean show. You're
No.
going to be elevate your temporary potential guest candidate co-host status to Olympian heights. So go ahead and take it away.
Can I be a Greek Olympian?
You can be whatever kind of Olympian you
All
want.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've all had some interactions with AGs, even Joe, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a bunch of latency problems, which was totally a SQL Server problem until it ended up not being one.
Until someone, we won't name names, answered and found out it was the network,
So
huh?
what I want to know, Sean, is does SQL Server 2025 move data over the network faster? Have you personally made any improvements to get
Sort
better
of,
network performance?
sort of. I personally, so my main issue with what the crux of that with the latency and everything is I think the underlying messaging layer needs redone. Right. I think with some changes there, things would get better. Having said that, uh, there were a couple things put in. So, you all like fast, high throughput machines, right? You like
Yeah.
that, those good queries, those sweet, sweet, fast queries.
Firehose cursors, that's what I'm
That's
about.
right.
How
Yeah.
about the Firehose?
So there's a couple things in there. Do you have either of you heard of group commit?
I've seen the wait type for it. I don't think I've
As I
ever,
was gonna
I
say.
don't think I've ever experienced it doing
I
anything
mean,
magnificent for
isn't
me.
that like what we did when the three of us agreed to talk about this?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think there are probably fewer razor blades involved.
Okay.
Well, they're missing out on the fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, so group commit, I mean, essentially is when you go to commit, can we package up? Can we hold off writing that to disk? I mean, this isn't an AG thing. It exists outside of it, but can we hold off writing that log block because right commits and log blocks. They're one of the things, right?
Mm.
You can hit the maximum size, which is 60K, and then that ends a log block, or you get a commit and that ends a log block. So if we can put multiple commits in one log block, then we get more efficiency, less on disk space, blah, 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 right? You get one write to the IO instead of 15, whatever. So if you have a commit that's going to happen, you do insert into Joe, salary $5, and then you go ahead and commit that. Uh, and you do that, you have all
You need
these
to
little
roll
tiny
that back,
commits.
man. You
I know,
don't
right?
commit that.
Zero
Jeez.
dollars for Joe. So you have a bunch of those little small, your typical OLTP style. You can batch all those commits up and then write them as one, which means if you're using something like an AG, then you're only sending one log block across the wire versus 50. So if you do have a latent pipe like Joe has, sorry, I didn't mean to throw out your medical issues online, but if you have a latent pipe like Joe, then that can be very helpful. But then it's not super great because you sit here and go, well, I don't, I'm using 100 gigabit, DAX with all this stuff, and you're clearly not running in the cloud. So you actually have sub millisecond latency. That might not be good. You might not want to hold up for 5 milliseconds, right? While you send it, because it would have been faster for you to just send it.
Mm.
You would have got it there and back faster than waiting for the group commit. So the group commit wait time was added in, so you can kind of remove that. That's just a set option. I think that's really good. One of the things that people I when I've helped people and they complain and we talk about box cars and some other stuff, which you don't really have to know about, but there's a limit to the amount of outstanding log, right? Because you don't want to say, it's not log shipping where you say, okay, great, do a log backup and then ship the log over, and that's whatever the outstanding is. This is how much do you want to send without being acknowledged, right? So that's your outstanding, that's your commit, and so that's your number of box cars. So that's slightly configurable now, just through again a SP configure option. And most people are going to think bigger number better, as per usual.
Hmm.
Not always bigger number better.
Mm.
It's arguably slightly more, but you don't. It's like parallelism in queries, right? If if one thread's good, 8 threads clearly better. Clearly won't run slower. There's no other issues that would ever. It's linear.
Yeah,
You
why
get
not?
8 times the throughput.
Yeah, I mean, let's just roll with that because,
Exactly.
every time I've been like, forced to parallel plan, I've been really happy with the results. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why there are serial plans.
well,
Everything should just, even if
yeah,
one row is coming back,
yeah,
if you run it max stop 8, it should just cut that
yeah,
row up into 8 individual sections, run
yeah.
them individual faster, and come through, right?
It should
Oh,
First,
run,
Joe.
it should, what it
first of
should
all,
do
Sean,
is
there's something called
run that across 8 threads, and whichever one finishes first wins.
batch mode aggregation, or at least I think that's what it's called. And you might end up with a count or a total, and
Oh no.
that one row with a count, and parallelism does indeed make it faster.
Ooh.
Sounds like someone who likes residual predicates, but we'll move on.
Joe likes all sorts of strange
This,
things.
this is 2008. For whatever reason, the internet, like, it can never advance past 2008, R2 SQL Server knowledge. You know what I'm talking about. Like, it's just impossible to
Yeah.
advance past those,
Oh,
Yeah,
sadly.
but some of the other things, have you guys aren't, I know Joe doesn't like AGs all that much, but contained AGs. So you got your logins, your jobs in the AG, you got replicated master, replicated MSDB. So they come over.
I think those are great because a lot of what I see people struggle with AGs is keeping all that stuff synchronized in a meaningful way. So,
90% of the reason they use DBA tools, right?
yeah, exactly.
Sync the
Just
logins and jobs.
exactly. It's like, and then of course, adding a step so that the job doesn't run if it's not on the
Yep.
writable or not on the primary or whatever. So, there's just a lot of stuff that goes on with those where you're like, I wish this was, I wish this didn't suck. Like,
Yeah. So one of the big drawbacks for contained AGs was it couldn't be in a distributed AG. Now it can be. So
there are
that was
too
better.
many kinds of AGs now.
There are.
You
Yeah,
need,
we didn't even talk about Linux.
we're not gonna.
That's the
Just
correct
just
answer.
just like
So,
we weren't going to talk about Express Edition and the Standard Edition video, but someone had to go say the word.
well, here's
That's
one
why
Joe will
someone did.
like,
Yeah.
or
Felt
even
a
Eric will
need
like.
to express myself on the
Mm,
subject.
mm. Well, you've been
There's
expressed.
how do you feel about query store on readable secondaries?
I mean, I remember when it was announced, and it was in preview for a very long time, and then it was maybe generally available, kind of, but not supported still. And so, I'm cautiously optimistic that they've worked out all the kinks and bugs with that. So that'll be nice because the plan cache is terrible.
Never let that optimism fade.
Yeah.
Never let
Yeah,
them
no,
take away
I'm
from you.
I'm curious about that. So before we had that, what were the options for getting your query diagnostic data? Was it only plan cache?
Yeah,
Pretty
there was
much.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
because
See,
query store
with
data just shipped from
2008
the primary over.
R2, man, that's all you need
Yeah.
Yeah,
for tuning by plan cache.
yeah, just a plain cache and some logical reads, and you're just good to go.
Yeah,
Man,
and plus the fact that whether I don't know if you know this, but those, will come over to the primary.
Yeah.
So you have
Oh,
that.
it's like merged replication.
I know, right? Everyone's I still know some
Barf,
people who like that.
barf, barf.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of great things for 2025 in terms of availability groups. I think it really hits a lot of the previous issues that
Yep.
people would have, especially between DBA, who's typically in charge of it, right, or infrastructure people, some sysadmin who's like, all right, I got to set this up, I got to do this. No, we can't do it, can't run into a lot of things. I still don't think items are as discoverable as they could be. Obviously, Management Studio doesn't have support for a lot of things, distributed AGs, and well, I shouldn't say support. There's no nice GUI wizard. There's
Yep.
no nice. I think the biggest thing right now for people, and the thing that I probably get the most questions on, even on Stack Exchanges. How do we monitor this? How do I know there's a problem, and where
Yep.
do I know there's a problem?
Yep.
And nothing in that has been changed, but
No. Well, that's because Microsoft really does hate the GUI, or rather, what I should say is Microsoft hates the end user, and they express that hatred through various GUIs. The Query Store GUI being one of them, the AG dashboard being another. There's a lot of stuff where you're just like I wouldn't treat someone who I like and respect in this way. Like I wouldn't do this to someone who I was a fan of. Like if I was just like, hey, that Joe and Sean, they're nice people. Here's how I'm gonna let them look at their data. Like it just wouldn't happen that would not go down that way. So
I want to know what sin I committed in a former life to be forced to use the SSMS extended events GUI. Because it,
that's another one.
it, it must have been
take
a
your
really
pick.
bad one. It
Take your
must have
pick.
been a really horrible thing that I did.
You used
So
MySQL.
I would like to apologize to the SQL Server community for my karma being
The
reaped upon all of you.
the last two things I really want to highlight here for the 2025 improvements on AGs when we were saying about, you know, things giving people heartburn, you
Yep.
can take regular backups on secondaries. So you can take a full backup, you
Oh,
can take
not
a
the
regular
copy only
differential,
anymore, right?
not the cop alone.
Wow.
So it'll change your diff map now. It'll clear your diff maps and your ML maps and stuff. So
That's nice. My gripe with the taking backups from the secondary was always like there was nothing that would sort of warn you if the backup you were taking was far behind the primary.
mhm.
Right. And so like you're sitting there, you're taking log backups every minute of the secondary, but meanwhile the secondary is like 5, 10 minutes behind the primary, and you're like, well, like there goes my RPO. I wish there was something a little bit smarter with that where if someone's sets up all their backup jobs so they go off a secondary because I don't know like whatever reason people get really worked up. They're like, oh, the primary can't handle the backups. I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing with your primary?" But like it would be nice if there was something sort of intelligent in there that would be like, wait a minute, like this is pretty far behind that. Maybe we shouldn't take backups here for a little bit. Maybe we should focus on the backups here instead, because you would have less chance of losing data in that scenario. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. No, those I think those are the big things. You get some of the stuff with the readable, the query store on the
Yeah,
readable secondaries. You get
yeah,
the backups. I mean, these are all top complained about items from everyone. And
yep,
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Like that's a thing that
yeah,
I feel it should have been there from the beginning.
yeah. You took customer feedback and you implemented it, and
Well, I didn't, but yes.
well, someone did. I mean, we all know you have source code access, and you could really be a lot more helpful in these conversations. But uh, you know, we do appreciate the contributions you do make. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
so
Round
it's
round of applause for Sean. I don't have a round of applause sound effect, so
oh, you need one.
we're just gonna insert a silent round of applause for Sean and all his.
There's a one in the Zoom.
Oh,
This
there
is a
you go.
single hand go thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
I
mean,
just think there's a lot of
this
really
is what
good
Zoom
stuff.
can do.
So I don't like that uh a lot of these, we are talking about SQL and
One
stuff like
minute
that.
left,
I
Sean. One
I
minute
know
left.
I know I
don't
don't like
interrupt him
that
then.
a lot of these things are in different places, right? We have not to segue into other stuff, but we have database scoped items, we have SP configure, we have alter server, we have all kinds of stuff. Like let's pick one,
Yeah.
right? Uh, do you guys remember when SAC was a thing? The 2005. It was
What is it?
it was called, wasn't it called SAC? It was like the Server Administration
Oh
Center,
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And you could export the XML or whatever and then
Yep.
import it and do it was where all the security things were. You had to run a different oh God, that was annoying.
Yeah, well, thankfully we moved on past that. Anyway, it is 4:30 and Sean has to go shave the virgins so that his gators don't get heartburn again. So we're gonna let Sean go get do whatever he has to do, and then
Get some swamp chicken.
Joe owes me 2 episodes because he's been useless on this one. So me and
I feel
Joe will
like I show you
continue the
one episode then.
conversation.
How's that 2-to-1 work? I'm getting
Uh, because you were twice as useless on this one as you are
Oof.
usually. So
wow.
yeah, you have some labor some time in
Maxed
the
out
waiting
Megan
game.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
making the same face right now that you made when I Googled best consultants and AI didn't include your name. That's how
Oh,
Oh,
I feel right now.
I think you just intentionally left my name out of that. I think you just made a list of names that you knew would make me make that face. And just read that. I don't even think you looked it up. I think you just pretended to type. You came up with a list of people who you know are worse consultants
I
than
could
me,
share
and
my
you listed
screen
them off.
right now and we could do a live demo.
No, that's okay because
Oh yeah, okay.
you would have
might need a
pre-cooked this. You would have, this is
age
something that you would
verification.
yeah. This is something that you would have pre-cooked just to get me to make that face again. So
Yeah.
anyway, Sean's gonna go do his thing. Sean, thank you for joining us for I think 3 episodes of the Bit
Yes,
Obscene radio program. We do anticipate having you back for future episodes to prove your worthiness as a co-host. So
that would be great.
we will see you in the future. Otherwise, it's time for Joe's punishment. So goodbye.